as with our prototypes. Within a few years of those triumphal claims, America dissolved into civil war, with one side defending the evil of slavery, the injustice of class over class, and the other side the greater evil of empire, the injustice of nation over nation. Still, even a terrible civil war could be seen in parallel to Rome's story, and so as confirmation of our Roman destiny. There is indeed a certain parallelism between the march of the Roman Empire from Italy, around the Mediterranean and out to what they called the earth, and our own advance from continental through hemispheric and on to global American empire. But it is the modern voices that assert the Romano-American Empire that moved the creation of this book. That parallelism is repeated again and again today, sometimes proudly, sometimes sadly, sometimes with approval, sometimes with disapproval. In the past year, I have read about a dozen books on this topic, mostly on the sad and disapproving side of it. Here is but one example from Chalmers Johnson's 2004 book, The Sorrows of Empire. Americans like to say that the world changed as a result of the September 11th, 2001 terrorist attacks on the World Trade Center and the Pentagon. It would be more accurate to say that the attacks produced a dangerous change in the thinking of some of our leaders, who began to see our republic as a genuine empire, a new Rome, the greatest colossus in history, no longer bound by international law, the concern of allies, or any constraints on its use of military force. Furthermore, his chapter 3 is entitled Toward the New Rome. He emphasizes that America is not an empire of colonies, but an empire of bases, but that we are still the second coming of the Roman Empire. In a magnificently parabolic scene in John's Gospel, Pilate confronts Jesus, or does Jesus confront Pilate, about the kingdom he proclaims. "My kingdom," says Jesus in the King James version of the incident, "is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, then would my servants fight, that I should not be delivered to the Jews. But now is my kingdom not from hence." Chapter 18, verse 36. I take 5 foundational points from that brief interchange. First, Jesus opposes the kingdom of God to the kingdoms of this world. What this world means is discussed throughout this book, but especially in chapter 1, whose title, Empire and the Barbarism of Civilization, is my own translation of the this world of Jesus. Second, Jesus is condemned to death by Roman Pilate, in Roman Judea, in the eastern reaches of the Roman Empire. But he never mentions Rome as such, and he never addresses Pilate by name. Third, had Jesus stopped after saying that my kingdom is not of this world, as we so often do in quoting him, that of would be utterly ambiguous. Not of this world could mean never on earth, but always in heaven, or not now in present time, but off in the imminent or distant future, or not a matter of the exterior world, but of the interior life alone. Jesus spoils all of these possible misinterpretations by continuing with this: "If my kingdom were of this world, then would my servants fight, that I should not be delivered up to execution. Your soldiers hold me, Pilate, but my companions will not attack you even to save me from death. Your Roman Empire, Pilate, is based on the injustice of violence, but my divine kingdom is based on the justice of non-violence." Fourth, the crucial difference, and the only one mentioned, between the kingdom of God and the kingdom of Rome is Jesus' non-violence and Pilate's violence. The violence of Roman imperialism, however, was but one incarnation at that first-century time and in that Mediterranean place of this world, that is, of the violent normalcy of civilization itself. Refer to my first point. Fifth, the most important interpreter of Jesus in the entire New Testament is Pilate. He clearly recognizes the difference between Barabbas and Jesus. Barabbas is a violent revolutionary who was in prison with the rebels who had committed murder during the insurrection. Mark chapter 15, verse 7. Pilate arrested Barabbas.